Welcome to Mystery Mind. Here, we bring you deep, emotionally driven mysteries that feel too real to ignore. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We're close to monetization, and your support makes all the difference. Now, let's begin a story that starts with freedom, turns into fear, and ends in a way no one could have predicted. The year was 2011. A group of 5 college friends had just graduated, standing at the edge of real life, full of dreams, confusion, and uncertainty. They were tight-knit, more like family than friends. There was Jam, calm, loyal, the one everyone trusted. Sara, quiet, thoughtful, sometimes anxious, but deeply kind. Daniel, the loud one, full of ideas and always planning the next big thing. Maya, sarcastic and skeptical, but protective of her people. And Tariq, shy, tech-obsessed, and the last person you'd expect to volunteer for adventure. After graduation, life felt still. No more assignments, no classes, no rules. Just silence. They spent their days at cafes, scrolling phones, rewatching old movies, talking about jobs they hadn't applied for yet. That silence turned into boredom. And boredom, for Daniel, was dangerous. One day, out of nowhere, he stood up in the middle of a gathering and said, "Guys, I have an idea." The rest rolled their eyes, as they usually did when Daniel said something like that. But this time, he was serious. "I saw a vlog last night. A group took a boat into the open sea for 2 nights. No phones, no stress, just exploring. Just peace. Why don't we do that?" Jam was the first to say yes. Tariq, surprisingly, nodded too. Maya made her usual joke, "If we die, I'm blaming you." But she agreed. Only Sara hesitated. Something about being surrounded by water made her uneasy. She wasn't afraid exactly, but it wasn't comfort either. Jam noticed. He leaned closer and whispered, "We'll be together. You'll be fine." She trusted him. She always had. So she said yes. They rented a boat for the weekend. Nothing luxurious, but functional. 3 small cabins, a deck with a narrow bench, and a worn-out flag fluttering on top. The boat captain was an older man named Kamal. He barely spoke, but his eyes told them he'd seen the sea's darkest moods. He gave them basic instructions and safety rules, but mostly left them alone. They packed light. Food for 2 days, water, light clothes, and cameras. No phones were allowed for internet. Daniel made that rule. "We're unplugging from life," he said. The morning they left, the sun was warm and the water calm. Everyone was in high spirits. The boat pushed off slowly, leaving the shore behind like it was some forgotten world. For the first few hours, it felt like paradise. They laughed, took pictures, told old stories. Maya played her awful playlist. Daniel danced terribly. Sara leaned against the rail quietly, watching the sea stretch into forever. By nightfall, they dropped anchor in a quiet area, far from anything. They cooked a small dinner on a portable stove, sat in a circle on the deck, and talked under the stars. Sara smiled more that night than she had in weeks. Whatever she had feared wasn't there anymore. Not yet. They slept peacefully. Everything was normal. The second day began like the first. They woke up early, made breakfast, and jumped off the deck to swim in the warm water near the boat. The laughter echoed across the open ocean. Sara swam too, though she stayed near the boat, cautious but smiling. Jam stayed nearby, just in case. That evening, they planned to head back the next morning. They cooked their last meal, packed their things, and spent one last evening watching the sunset fade into the dark. When it got late, one by one, they went to their cabins. Jam and Daniel stayed up a little longer, sitting quietly on the deck. But when morning came, everything changed. Sara was gone. At first, it didn't feel real. They searched the cabins, the deck, even under blankets. They thought maybe she woke up early. Maybe she was brushing her teeth or just taking quiet time. But the longer they searched, the louder the panic got. Jam shouted her name. Maya climbed the railing, scanning the water. Tariq checked under benches, even inside supply boxes. But Sara was nowhere. It was as if she had vanished into the sea. Daniel called the Coast Guard. Within hours, search teams arrived. Helicopters circled. Divers went into the water. They covered a huge radius around the boat. No sign, no clothes, no sound, no body. The only explanation anyone could offer was simple and cruel. She must have fallen overboard at night. Everyone was shattered. Daniel was quiet for the first time in days. Maya cried without stopping. Tariq refused to speak at all. Jam didn't cry, not at first. He just stared at the ocean, silent, still, thinking. He knew something the others didn't. He remembered how she swam. He remembered the way she held on to the side of the boat. She wouldn't have panicked. She wouldn't have drowned immediately. Jam refused to accept she was dead. The police eventually gave up. With currents that strong, they said, if she fell, she could be 50 kilometers away by now. They handed over a report, closed the file, and moved on. But Jam didn't. He couldn't. 3 weeks later, Jam returned to the dock, alone. He rented a small boat and hired a younger driver who didn't ask questions. He had a printed map, one that marked every small island or sand patch in that region of the sea. Some were known only to fishermen, places rarely visited, never mapped online. He spent days searching. Island after island, empty. A cluster of rocks, a patch of sand, a broken hut left behind by some traveler. Still no sign of Sara. But on the 5th day, just as the sun began to fall, he saw it. A tiny stretch of sand in the distance. Nothing impressive. But something felt off. As the boat approached, Jam saw a piece of wood stuck upright in the sand. Letters carved into it with something sharp. Just one word. Help. His heart stopped. He ran off the boat the moment it hit the sand. And there, just beneath the sign, was a figure, lying on the ground, barely moving, hair tangled, skin sunburnt, clothes torn, hands bleed, surviving. It was Sara, alive. Sara was unconscious, but breathing. She had survived on rainwater and a few pieces of fruit from a small tree. She tried to fix her phone, but it was too waterlogged. She carved the sign and waited, every single day, hoping someone would come. And Jam did. He lifted her into the boat, held her close, and whispered the same words he had said before the trip began. "I'm here. You'll be fine." At the hospital, she was treated for exposure, weakness, dehydration, and infection. She spent a week recovering. Not once did Jam leave her side. After she recovered, Sara said something no one expected. "I was never scared. I just believed you'd come." They stayed together after that, and a year later, they got married. What happened to Sara on that boat remains a mystery. Maybe she slipped and swam. Maybe something pushed her. Maybe she jumped in fear or in a moment of confusion. No one knows, not even her. Her memory of that night is still a blur. But what mattered is simple. Jam never gave up. In a world where people move on quickly, he didn't. He followed instinct. He followed heart. And because of that, he brought her back. Sometimes, the world will ask you to let go. But if your heart tells you to hold on, do it. Because not all hope is foolish. Some hope saves lives. This was Mystery Mind. If this story moved you or made you feel something, subscribe, like, and share it with someone who needs to hear. Never give up.